Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we've got a big Julian Assange update, and we had a really big win for freedom of speech. I completely missed it being wrapped up in all the Epstein information coming out, but I definitely want to go over that. However, there is so much going on and so much obscurity surrounding Assange, what's happening to him in jail, the legalities of the situation, the different lawsuits, that we really are kind of screwed in this idiocracy. I mean, there's a large part of the population out there that thinks that, Russia and WikiLeaks completely colluded with one another. Mueller's out there talking about them being a hostile intelligence agency, WikiLeaks, even though they can never put together the idea that they conspired with one another. Assange was never interviewed, and now more and more information is coming out about the DNC leaks, not hacks, leaks, and really the involvement of Seth Rich and even his brother Aaron Rich. We covered that before. We're going to go back to that, but you notice the media downplayed this one huge, and they also spin it in this article. So the Democrats, the DNC, with even less, you need less standards of proof to have a civil suit in the Trump campaign Russia conspiracy lawsuit. No, didn't happen. They lost. Donald Trump scored a win Tuesday when a federal judge dismissed a lawsuit by the DNC claiming his presidential campaign conspired with Russia and WikiLeaks to hack the DNC emails in the run-up to the 2016 elections. Let's say it again. There is no evidence of a hack because there was no hack. It is convoluted, Johnny-nonsense, intelligence, community propaganda. And we're going to get into that deep propaganda and how Deputy Director of the FBI, former Deputy Director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, could be one of those guys that kind of plays both sides of the fence. But that's another story altogether. We'll get to that, okay? So basically, they said that it had to be upheld through the First Amendment. In fact, I believe it's WikiLeaks themselves that pointed this out right here. Yes, right here. In his rejection, the DNC's lawsuit against WikiLeaks Judge John J. Coydle, let's bring the whole thing up right here, wrote on the DNC publications, this type of information is plainly of the type entitled to the strongest protection that the First Amendment offers. And you can get the whole text there. I don't know why you wouldn't be following WikiLeaks, but here it is right here. It is plainly the type. Obviously, this information is not illegal. This is a First Amendment issue. What's going on is a tragedy. So the lawsuit was thrown out. The media is spinning it. It's like, well, you can't really sue Russia. What? This is nonsense. So again, another blow to the Russiagate propaganda. And remember, that was all about trying to get Trump himself in a perjury trap to take out this administration. And they couldn't find a way to do so. And now we're looking at Nadler saying, he thinks that he can get enough signatures that by the fall, so in a couple months, 2 or 3 months, he's going to be able to start the impeachment proceedings. Like what kind of, on the obstruction of justice charges, on the Johnny Nonsense investigation. All right, and remember, this isn't about left or right to me. This is just how the politics is working. So, I want to go back to one of my videos here. If you take a look here, Seth Seymour, Ellen Assange, and a Dropbox. Now, in that video, we're not gonna replay it because it'll just take too long. Obviously, that's an almost 20-minute video. But in that video, you can hear Seymour Hersh talk about how Seth Rich was the source, how he set up a Dropbox, how they were, later on, more documentation says that they were paid through eBay, and he contacted them, got money, and started sending the information there, period. All right? And he talks about Brennan. And by the way, he drops a lot of F-bombs. It is not kid-friendly, but you need to go watch this. Now, in it, He says that there's actually an FBI document on Seth Rich and all this information's in it. But remember, the intelligence community is unanimous of what actually happened. Russiagate. All right? Now, in the document, by the way, it states, and we're going to get there, that Andrew McCabe is his source. That's the new information. So let's talk about this, right? I am still shocked Andy McCabe was Cy Hirsch's source for Seth Rich, and Assange telling a Fox person to tell Seth's parent Seth was the DNC whistleblower source is just wow. So if you don't know, again, we went over it in the other one. So this is a huge Ed Butowski lawsuit where he claims that in another taped phone call, Seymour Hersh says McCabe himself is the one that read the document about Seth Rich. That would mean everybody knew. He's the assistant deputy director of the FBI. That's the type of operations the FBI, the deep state apparatus, the intelligence community runs. Think about that. Now, I want to talk about this quick because McCabe pushed Russiagate in public. Hardcore. So does this show him as really just someone who's playing the game to try to leak information about the truth? By the way, Seymour Hersh said nobody would touch his story about Seth Rich. Okay? That nobody would publish it. Think about that. And here it is blown up, right? So we're going to read it. Just so you know, you can find the audio we're talking about here. We're going to ramp it right up, okay? The website also included audio of famed journalist Seymour Cy Hersh stating that he had confirmed that Seth Rich was responsible for leaking the DNC emails. This is the guy that published the Abu Ghraib stuff where we found out that children were actually being, sexually abused by soldiers in front of their parents as one of the forms of torture. That they were putting battery acid on the end of objects and sodomizing people. That's where we got the video of the journalists being gunned down by our military. You know, the ones, that's what, all those Chelsea Manning leaks, well, it was only through Seymour Hersh and him getting them out that they ever came to light. Remember, Manning also involved with this current case against Assange. In a separate phone call with Mr. Butowski, Mr. Hersh said he obtained his information about Seth Rich from Mr. McCabe. Huge. The deputy FBI director. Now, think about this. All this stuff is out in court. A lot of the phone calls are public, and yet not one major news network, whether it be Fox News on one side or MSNBC and CNN on the other, will touch it. ABC News, CBS News, none of them will touch this. What does that tell you about our controlled system of information? Remember, the intelligence community was unanimous that Russia had meddled with our elections and that they had colluded with Trump. All made up. And while that goes on, right here, okay? Right here. Now, in this thing, Ellen Ratner, her husband, I believe, was a lawyer for WikiLeaks. And you can go over to here to Threader, find this. You can download the whole suit so you can read it for yourself. But basically, if you read this, we'll just read it. Miss Ratner, this is the Fox News analyst, said Mr. Assange, because they had met together, told her that Seth Rich and his brother Aaron were responsible for releasing the DNC emails to WikiLeaks. Mr. Assange wanted the information relayed to Seth's parents as it might explain the motive for Seth's murder. But they already knew. Mr. Rich told Mr. Butowski that he already knew that his sons were involved in the DNC email link. Mr. Rich said he was reluctant to go public with Seth and Aaron's role in leaking the emails because we don't want anyone to think our sons were responsible for getting Trump elected. On top of the fact that Seth Rich is no longer with us. I mean, think about it. Do you want to lose another son? Do you want to be harassed the rest of your life? Has imagine, what kind of threats you probably got knowing this stuff? So, it also mentions that Butowski has lied before, but, again, he has those tapes. He has those tapes, and you can listen to them again. You want a great breakdown of those tapes and other information that was out previously, please go check out Seth Seymour, Ellen Assange, and a Dropbox. We're doing 3 to 7 videos a day here. So, Assange, unfortunately, doesn't look like he's going anywhere, okay? Apparently, he dropped the appeal against the prison term for breaching bail, and that was like about a month and a half ago plus, and that was for the trumped up Swedish sexual assault charges that he actually went into the Ecuadorian embassy over and sought refuge. So apparently, he dropped the counter appeal, and he also wrote an apologetic letter. I couldn't find anything on it on the WikiLeaks thing, but I didn't scroll down enough. It didn't seem like it was fake news. But we have this UN expert, Nils Melzer, saying, look, they're going to torture this guy. They're going to make an example out of him. They've trumped charges up. He's going to jail for a very, very long time. And he's got a piece over at Medium. And, I'm not a globalist. I'm not a pro-UN guy. But he's telling the truth here. They're really trying to criminalize journalism. And, he says, I know you may think I'm deluded, right? No, I don't think you're deluded. I think you're one of the few people telling the truth about what's really going on here. The crackdown on the sharing of the truth and global information, the criminalizing of that truth, making people who literally just shared raw documents that were leaked to them as hackers and espionage and treasonous, even though they don't live in this country, not from this country, criminalizing the very information itself. So guys, as I said, we're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos a day. If you really liked this Assange breakdown and update, give it a thumbs up, share it on social media. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. We did a great breakdown of Tulsi Gabbard versus the mainstream media after the debates the other day. Huge Dayton update last night, and I'm going to be doing another Dayton video. There's an article out there by a supposed ex-girlfriend of the shooter, and if genuine, it pretty much confirms everything I've been saying about this guy. All the red flags were there. He did have a mental illness. Everyone knew about it. He glorified death. It was a basic part of his life, and no one was surprised when this happened. And the media isn't going to bring it up now because in this article, she also admits he was not a Republican. Okay, and I'm not trying to make it about politics at all, but if you look at how demented even their relationship, in my opinion, was on the surface, like I said, we're going to be doing that video. It's going to be completely separate. So like I said, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe on the road to 30K when we can do a lot more here. And if you really like my stuff, and it's all free, I don't do Patreon, I don't have a subscribe star, I don't have any bonus material for you. It's all I can do to go through these documents, articles, clips, information, share them with you, give my perspective that many times a day. So if you can support me financially, thank you so much. That's what the GoFundMe is here for. We're a little bit halfway over the goal and a little bit halfway over the tier of the day. So with that being said, I will see you guys on the flip.